Unfortunately, more negative news from France, as I'm sure most people will be aware. Um, there's been protests in France, and around 150 people have been arrested across the country. They're protesting at the fatal shooting of a 17-year-old boy by police near Paris during a traffic check. Um, the um, this the shooting wasn't. There was no grounds to shoot, according to many sources, so the officer shouldn't have shot the individual, which is why many people are angry. And I believe there was a similar incident a few years ago. There might be a few differences, but there's a similar incident, and now it's happened again. And President Macron held a crisis cabinet meeting to discuss the riots. Um, and he said, just finding what he said, while I find what he said, but I believe the individual is Algerian heritage, and there's been a lot of, particularly with the police, there's been a lot of discrimination or towards the North African heritage people, whether they've come from North Africa or they're born in France but they have North African heritage or things like this. The police are more, let's say, hostile towards these type of people compared to other people. So they don't look for excuses. They just shoot. Like in this case, we've seen um, the individual was just shot. Wasn't acceptable, and the officers saying that he thought his life was in danger. But from the things that we know from the sources and things like this, there was no justifiable evidence or reason to shoot the individual. I can't find what Macron says. I just saw it, but it's gone away. But he's also said something similar towards like what the police did wasn't justifiable and acceptable, and he said something like that. And now because he said that, the police board or whatever, they're angry because they thought he'd defend the police officer, and he's not. They thought they'd say the police officer is innocent until proven guilty. But this shows you, even if Macron can tell you that what the police officer did was unacceptable, it shows you how unacceptable it is. Not that we needed him to say it, but it adds more weight to the argument. Um, and hopefully the officer would be dealt with in the most severest of manners, banned for life from being a police officer or working ever again. And these aren't just simple mistakes. Apparently, he's saying, or he's going to be dealt with as manslaughter. You can speak on that on a separate issue, but I do not think it was manslaughter because there was no danger, and because you had a gun, you had power, you felt like you could do what you want, and later on you can make excuses and say manslaughter and things like this. But at the time, there was no threat, and you decided to use the gun and to shoot. So I do not think it is manslaughter. I think it was murder with intent, disguised as manslaughter because you're a police officer and you could make excuses and make lies, and it disguised as truth. Like most people will tell you, there was no life. His life was a danger, so there's no need to shoot. He chose to shoot. He wanted to shoot, and now he has to deal with the consequences. Since recording this, Kylian Mbappe has spoken around the shooting and killing and murder of the Algerian teenager in France. It's good to see with someone of his platform speak and raise awareness. And I also believe Kylian Mbappe is also of Algerian heritage. He said it's been translated into English from Google, from his tweet. I feel bad for my France, an unacceptable situation. All my thoughts go out to Nahel's family and loved ones, this little angel who left far too soon. Strong message from Kylian Mbappe, It's positive to see someone like him with such a platform speaking like this, and the police officers shouldn't get away with it. They're angry that Macron has spoken, now Kylian has spoken, hopefully other people speak, and the police officer gets the most severe punishment possible.